All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of a Brothers Creed podcast where we talk about motivation, experiences, and exploring what the world has to offer. We're the Thomas Brothers, and I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jared. And today we're joined by Frank Schwartz. Frank, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And Frank is a motivational speaker. Frank's a consultant. He does corporate speaking. He owns a company called G3L. Mm-hmm. And we just are so excited to have you on today to talk about leadership in the home as well as in a corporate setting and how to leave legacy and how we can be better leaders. I think that's just an important concept.
Oh, I agree.
Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to it.
You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in a pocket.
We will not go quietly into the night.
They tell me you're a man with true grit.
I am the one who knocks.
Don't ever tell me what I can't do, ever!
That's how winning is done.
All right, Frank, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you coming on today.
For sure.
And, I guess right off the bat, I know that you are a man of many talents and do many different things. And your G3L is just one of your many talents.
Okay.
You also run your own podcast. Tell us a little about that first.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly how it all happened. You know, like things just sort of, like you just kind of pick stuff up and then pretty soon you're like, oh, I'll just add another thing. I'll add another thing. And then, yeah, who knows? But one of the many roles that I do play out there in the world is as president of a men's leadership and workout group called F3. And so as president of that, I do have a podcast we call the 43 Feet Podcast. And that kind of signifies this idea that leadership is really, you're the guy hacking away at the path 43 feet ahead of everybody else. And you only really get about 43 feet ahead, you know, so you're kind of making it up and figuring it out as you go along a little bit. And, you know.
I like that.
Well, it's, you know, if it's already paved, probably isn't leadership. Somebody's already been there, you know.
Yeah.
So we you know, there's, I guess you can lead people down a paved road, but our way of kind of thinking is you got to hack your own path to some degree. So.
Yeah, I think F3 is a great organization. It started here in Charlotte, and it's been growing nationally at this point. Are you guys are F3 international yet?
So funny that you should ask that, and this is literally true. Just last week, a guy about 4 years ago started a church in Nairobi area, Kenya.
Oh, really?
Yep. And he, I don't know how, we got to figure out what he Googled exactly to come across F3, but he reached out, and I had a meeting with him and our guy who leads our expansion efforts last week. And so we're planting a flag in Nairobi, Kenya.
Cool.
If you can
Very
believe
cool.
that. So we've had a few others where, you know, people like expats, you know, were in Ireland for a little while or this kind of a thing. And so we have one that's kind of an official that was a guy who's from Germany, came here to work, and then went back to Germany. Now he's working. Anyway, you don't need to be here all about our expansion efforts internationally for F3, but we do have a couple. Yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, F3 is a great segue kind of into what you're doing now. So it seems like previous to F3, you were doing, you know, a different business. That you're an entrepreneur. Yep. You're doing a different business. But my impression has been that your experiences in F3 have been so transformative to you as a person that you've kind of been like, whoa, this is something that I am passionate about and I can continue to do. Is that accurate?
That is, like you read it from a book I wrote or something. I haven't written a book, but if I did, that would be right in the first chapter, I think, Jared.
We looked at your LinkedIn account before we talked to you.
No, but that nails it exactly. And so before this, and it's still in a company that exists and still run that as well, but although I do less and less of the work, which is probably good. I'm not that talented. But is a corporate communications company. And, you know, you're doing communications and you're working with leaders of companies and things like that. And that's exactly what happened. As I got into F3, I kind of discovered this idea that, oh my gosh, like the problems that we have in the world really aren't communication problems. Like they are, but that's kind of downstream a little bit, right? The real problems that we have are leadership problems. And I decided after a couple different experiences that I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute, but I was like, man, I got to start working on the right end of the problem.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you kind of wanted to start with yourself, that you'd say, you know, I've been in X leadership position, or I've seen X person in this leadership position, and I didn't really like how they did that, or I did like how they did this other thing, and then you kind of started developing your own leadership, and then you kind of brought that to everyone else, or how did that develop personally for you?
Like, this is some kind of weird book that I don't know. Anyway, you guys, that's exactly it. I mean, and maybe that's just because there's some logical progression in there, right? But I had a guy who used to work with me, who his mom, we always called it the Mama Yutke rule, and her Bridget Yutke rule is you can either be a good example or a hideous warning, right? So you kind of pick, right? Yeah. And so yes, the answer to that is yes. I mean, there were definitely things that you look at and go, well, I'm not doing that. And there's a lot of things that you look at and go, I'd like to be more like that, right? And I think that's sort of how we progress in our lives, period. That's how everything works, right? As we look and we go, I want to adopt these things, I get rid of these things. But what was the second half of your question now?
Oh, he was just asking how you developed your leadership, and you answered that.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah, so there's a lot of that.
Experience,
but then the other thing is you start looking and going, oh yeah, as far as like coming up with your own stuff. Look, the fact of the matter is there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Right? There's no new leadership principle that someone's discovering. People try and codify it a little differently here, a little differently, explain it a little different, use a little different story or different analogy or different framework. But leadership's leadership to a large degree.
I worked with a guy, and he had a saying that companies have R&D, and he was like, R&D. He said, R&D to me stands for rip off and duplicate. He was like, R&D is a lot of the stuff already exists. You need to find out how to present things in your own light. And it was just,
he must not work for Tesla.
Oh, were there no tires before Tesla?
Not very many electric cars.
And that's fair, but
they're just copying half of the Prius.
We'll make a double Prius. It's going to be great. Hold on.
We'll make it faster and cooler.
Yeah.
Well, Frank, let's get into maybe leadership in the workplace first.
Sure.
Let's talk about that. Maybe first, talk about your company. You were explaining a little bit to us before, the G3L, which is your company name. Explain to us what that means, and maybe help tie that into how you teach leadership in a corporate environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And which reminds me now, so the other thing that you asked, Ethan, was, is it something you have to kind of do for yourself first?
Yeah.
Right. And 100%. There's literally, in my estimation, and you never want to be a total pain in the rear end. So 98% of the time this is true. There's always an exception, right? But so I'm going to speak in probably extremes, with the understanding that
that sounds good.
It just whatever, right? But you got to take a stand. So I would say there's really no other way to do it. There's literally no other way. You can't lead another person unless you yourself are right first. Yeah. And so the G3Ls, that's exactly that framework, right? We call it the 4 quadrants of preparedness, or the 4 quadrants of leadership preparedness, however you want to say it. But it's this idea that in order to influence another man, you can only give of what you have in abundance. Fair? I can't give you orange juice if I have no orange juice.
Yep.
Right? So the G, this is how inventive, and brilliant I am, right? Is the framework has the initials are G and 3 L's, right? Mm-hmm. So G3L. So and when we say right in this concept or in this context, I don't mean like a moral judgment of rightness, mm-hmm. but more of a proper alignment, if you will, right? Yeah. So think of a sailboat, right? If a sailboat's tipped over, it's not righted. The ship is not righted. It can't accelerate. It can't go anywhere, right? So the first step is to get right. That's get yourself right. The next is to live right. That means you give and for work on those relationships with the people around you. Then you lead right. Finally, then you leave right, meaning that you've constructed something, hopefully, or led people or led organizations or whatever it is in such a way that you have left a legacy, that you've built something that people can adhere to and live, beyond even in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Can you maybe run us through an example of what it looks like to get right, live right, lead right, and leave right in a corporate environment? Like, how can if someone's off kilter and you're prescribing them this prescription, what would you say to do?
So I will say that our leadership philosophy, my leadership philosophy, is not for everybody. Uh-huh. It hurts a lot of people's baby feelings because the fact of the matter is most people just want to learn the 10 tricks. I want to read the BuzzFeed article, and at the end of 15 minutes of reading that article, be a better leader. Or I want to go to the weekend seminar with Tony Robbins or, whoever it is, right? and then come back and be like, sweet, nailed it. Check that box. I'm a better leader.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works. We all know.
You might be a better leader, but that doesn't mean you're a good leader.
You might be a better leader, but the problem is, you know what? That's a good point, Ethan. You might even be a good leader.
Yeah.
Right? But you're only going to be a good leader for about as many weeks as many days as you put into the seminar, right? So if you went to a 2-day seminar,
it's directly proportional to how much money you spend in the seminar.
that's what Tony would have you believe, I'm sure. But if you're there for a 2-day seminar, you probably got about 2 weeks of good leadership that comes in after that, and you're going to fall right back into your old habits.
Yeah.
Because the problem is not your leadership style. It's not even the things that you do. It's not the tips and the tactics and the tricks and the things that you use to manipulate behavior within your company. The problem is you yourself aren't right. You yourself are not virtuous. You're not living in such a way that you should be followed. And the only way to do that I know of, is you have to build yourself a kingdom, brick by brick, to make it impossible for you to fall off the track, or at least less possible, right? I mean, everybody can fall off, but so you have to build guardrails around yourself in order to help you accelerate. So if you can imagine you guys have both been to Utah, right? And you've driven up some of the Rocky Mountains and the wherever, right? And chances are good you've been on some trails or some things where it's like, there is no guardrail here.
Yeah.
We're driving into who knows what.
Yeah.
And it's twisty and turny and all that kind of stuff. And when you're going up a mountain like that, like, you're going to go pretty slow.
Yeah.
You're going to be super careful. And if you can imagine, I don't know, a pole position. That was the old 80s game. Whatever driving game is popular now. Need for Speed, something like that. And that was called something like that. Anyway, what's it? Forza. Okay, it's Forza, right?
Yeah.
But it's on no damage mode, right? So, but you can fall off the side. But if there were guardrails and it's no damage mode, like, you can
pedal to the metal,
right? You're just going to go, baby, right?
Yeah.
And so we can't live in no damage mode entirely, but if you build yourself good guardrails, you're probably not going to fall off the side. And that's what getting right is all about. There's a book that I love called Legacy. It's about the New Zealand All Blacks, which is a rugby team. And they are literally the most winning professional sports franchise, any sport, anywhere in the world, ever, period, end of story.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And like, not by a little, like by a lot, right?
Even more than the Patriots?
Yeah, I think you mean the Buccaneers. Or the soon-to-be, I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, even more than the Patriots, by a lot, right? And one of the quotes out of this book or concepts out of this book is that, and I'm paraphrasing it for our purposes, right? Is basically effective organizations begin with effective human beings. Effective organizations begin with effective human beings. If you're not an effective human being, it doesn't matter what you do. And no offense, and this is where it starts hurting people's baby feelings, right? No offense, if you are undisciplined in your life, and it shows in terms of the way that you conduct your business, the way you conduct yourself. So if you're this guy who's slovenly overweight, you're cheating on your wife, you're working all kinds of hours, and you're sitting at the top of this organization, and everyone follows you because they have to, that's not legacy.
Yeah.
That's not anything you want to leave behind. There's no virtue in that. And no offense to the rest of the entire world. Well, I shouldn't say the entire world, but to much of the leadership that we see both in our country and in organizations within our country, that's who's sitting in there.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of cases, yeah. But so really the part that you're saying is hurting people's feelings is like, to say you go to a corporation and you're like, okay, let me talk to you about something, how to be a better leader. It doesn't have anything to do with work. You need to be disciplined in your own life.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to, I think, what is it? There's a quote I like that says, like, you can't rule, I think it was maybe Napoleon that said, you can't rule others unless you can rule yourself.
Right.
First.
Yeah. And just to prove that it's not new or, whatever, right? I mean, it's in Proverbs, for crying out loud, right? I mean, like, he who masters himself is better than he who takes a city. It's paraphrased. It's not King James, but you get the idea, right? You've got to have the discipline. You've got to have those things for yourself. So the thing that hurts their feelings is they come in and they say, we have a leadership challenge, or I don't even say a leadership challenge. Usually they'll say, we have a problem with, you pick, turnover. We have a lot of turnover in our company, right? It's costing us millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever, because, we have these people here, they stay for a year or less. Then we have to retrain people. We're constantly losing productivity. We're constantly losing these things. And they go, you got to fix that. And we go, well, okay. Happy to do that. And we'll look at some of those processes together, and we'll try and figure out, like, is there something that we're doing or something that we're saying or certain conditions that can be changed or things like that. But brother, that's all downstream. The thing that people don't want to hear, but is the truth, and I'm talking capital T truth, is the problem isn't your company. The problem isn't your employees. You're the problem, and you're always the problem.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. But I had to swallow it.
Yep.
The company that you were talking about before that I still have, but the communications company, right? I almost ruined it. Almost. I mean, I drug it, pull up, Mayday, right? Screaming, of we're all going to die here, right? But almost ran it completely into the ground because of my own ego, because of my own unwillingness to take advice from others. I had no guardrails. I mean, this is, so you learn things by having a good example or
failure.
Right.
Learning from your mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. And really, and that's one of the things we teach in our leadership development process is, people get really churned up about failure. They get really twisted up about it, and they worry about, we can't fail. And I know that we're taught that from the time that we're, as soon as we enter school, so here we are 5-6 years old and we start grading people.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like, it's the most artificial, strange, like, I don't get it. And I know that I'm, brain damaged or whatever I am, but like it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not saying that to be glib or weird. Like, it's never made sense to me, which is probably why I did so poorly in school, because it doesn't make any sense to me. But, this is how we treat you. This is how we tell you your worth is. This is, whatever, right? Is you have to achieve these certain kinds. Anyway, point being that, the way that the world wants you to act and the way that the world has set it up to decide what's valuable and what's not and how we're going to achieve, what's going to be good or whatever, it usually is just totally backwards. It's totally backwards.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Ethan. You guys go.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the difficulties that I've seen quite a bit in my career and in my time with some big companies, and I'm seeing quite a bit right now in my company, but there's...
Jared, that face you just made, that's the face.
I'm actually leaving my current company and I'm starting a new job at a different company.
There's the face.
So this is so this is a major issue in my company, but like there's so many changes and stuff, leadership org changes from the top, and everybody's always shifting and telling what they want. Oh, like this is the new initiative, and then 6 months later, that person will either move to a different company or move to a different position in the company. And within the company, somebody else will come in and say, "No, that's not what we want to do. We want to do this," and shift everybody's focus to something else. And then between that and then occasionally layoffs where you get people leaving and then teams getting shuffled around. If you're a middle manager within all that, how do you how in the world can you maintain the loyalty of employees? I mean, you can be the best guy in the world. You can be right.
Nice isn't going to cut it.
You can be a good leader.
Sure.
But if there's a storm occurring above your head and you can't control your team getting shuffled around or your directive changing constantly, how can you lead in an environment like that?
It's kind of like the saying of, it's crap input, crap output. Like,
sure.
If you're in a crappy situation, it's hard to make good of a crappy situation by just being a good guy. But how do you come out of that? Yeah.
Right. That is a great question. And so I'll tell you this, candidly, if we had a good answer for that, we'd all be very, very wealthy. Right?
Well, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So there's really no, at some level, the organization becomes what we refer to as a bullfrog, right? Or worse yet, it may have evolved into a leech. So a bullfrog is a fat, bloated organization that sits on its lily pad, and just its only interest is continuing to exist. It's not going to hop anywhere real fast. It just waits for flies to fly by, and you just snap one out of the air every once in a while and keep kind of churning along, and there's not a whole lot of growth. There's not a whole lot of action. Nothing's happening there.
Yeah.
And they shuffle crap around to try and make it look like they're doing something. They come up with brand new initiatives to try and make it look like they're doing something. Especially new guy comes in. First thing he has to do is mark his territory all over everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right? And we all know what that means. It means it smells in there. Fair?
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
And so he's going to come in and this is what he's going to do. And we've got new initiatives and we've got this. And then to your point, they have layoffs. Why do they have the layoffs? Is it because the business is doing poorly? No. It's because it's the end of the year. We've got to make the balance sheet look right for the shareholders.
Yeah, but then that also fosters like people siloing their information. So everybody's hoarding their information and they don't want to share anything because they're like, well, if we get shifted, my role is so important. I can't be laid off.
Nobody. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. And this. You're absolutely right, because the problem is that's what the environment has taught everyone.
Yeah.
Is survival.
Yeah.
And we have to move them on that continuum, and we call it the Sir continuum, right? From survival to servanthood. Survival to servanthood, right? So you have to move along that continuum. Guess what? Who has to move first?
The leadership.
You do. That's right. You have to.
Yeah.
If you're just here to survive, and get by, that doesn't help anyone. You know what the problem is in most of these organizations? Do you know what your mission statement is of the current organization that you work for?
Yeah, I think so. But
okay.
Yeah.
Is it a mission statement that could easily be, and you could say mission statement, vision statement, whatever the
core
thing
values,
is, whatever, right? So, and every company should have all of those things, I think, in some fashion or other. But could you take your mission statement and easily zip in somebody else's name?
Yeah, I mean, could I take my personal mission statement or the company mission statement and zip in somebody's name at the company?
Anybody else? No. I mean, any other company name.
I mean, generally, yeah, they're pretty much all the
same. They're garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Total garbage.
Yeah.
The most useless, worthless. Like we'll put it in vinyl letters on the break room wall and pretend like that's motivating people.
Delight our customers.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
really?
Yeah. Like,
I'm pretty sure I heard that on a commercial yesterday with a different company.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and isn't delight our customers kind of the lowest common denominator? Like, isn't that kind of your point? Like, you exist to delight customers, correct? But how?
Yeah.
What is it you're doing? Right? And so and again, it has to start with you or the leader. If that leader has no personal mission, no personal vision, all he has to do, look, you may as well put the business cards in pencil. So he can just erase the company name and write in the next one that he goes to. How long have you been at your current company, Jared?
About 3 years.
About 3 years.
Yeah.
About 3 years. One promotion? Maybe two?
Yeah, I got one promotion. Pretty much right when I got there, I got about a year.
Well, it's because you're a bright guy. Now, people that are listening, I know the Thomas brothers reasonably well, right? Bright guy, sharp guy, go-getter, wants to get things done, wants to make a difference, passionate guy, wants good things. And what do? Here, Jared, sit under this rock.
Yeah, it's just it got too frustrating. I was just like, I got to go somewhere else because nothing was happening, and you're just butting up.
You ready for me to break your heart?
Go ahead. I should have realized it sooner.
In 3 years, you're going to have one promotion, and you're going to go somebody else. That's what you're going to do.
You think?
100%.
Why do you say that?
Because you work for bullfrogs. You got to work for a lizard, man.
I'm trying to find a lizard, dude.
I know. I'm just saying. Or you got to try and create lizards within the bullfrogs.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to create my own lizard on my own.
Well, and there's value to that too. We can have that discussion sometime. Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. Working for yourself is hard and wonderful.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is once a company, you pick Blockbuster, Sears, I mean, they've lost their way. And there's no choice for them but to just sort of continue to exist until they eat themselves from the inside. They become a leech, And I don't know what organization you work for, and I don't want to know, right? And we certainly don't want to say it out here.
No.
But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because every large enterprise organization works exactly the same way. In fact, that's why. Because my clients are those people.
Yeah.
For the communications company, right?
So
and now for the leadership.
How do you advise these companies? How do you advise a bullfrog?
So with
when you went and you tough talk the leadership.
So with a true bullfrog, I can't help you.
Really? So if a big company, if Apple came to or say and they say, hey, we're going.
Well, I don't know if Apple is. Because I don't know what their structure's like.
Oh, yeah.
But since we're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and since these are some of my clients that I've had in my previous life in the communications company, right? Let's just say, I don't know, a large financial institution, say in America somewhere, right?
Yeah.
With a red sort of hue, maybe. Right?
Yes.
I don't want to say who it is, but let's
just say
it rhymes
a big
with
bank.
Jank of America, whatever, right? But the point is I can't help them. If they were to come to me today, and Brian Moynihan, by the way, is never going to knock on my door, just so we're clear. But if that were to happen, he would say, hey, we've got this challenge or that challenge. Can you help? And I would have to look at him and say, I cannot. Now, I'm not saying that you're beyond help. I'm just saying I can't. Mm-hmm. I don't have those skills. I don't have that ability because I can't do for you what you need done. And also, anything I tell you, even though it may work,
the ship's too big to turn.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
and it's hard to look somebody in the face that's making, tens of millions of dollars a year and then say, you need to do something different. I don't know.
Right.
That kind of, to me, would be almost intimidating to say. It's like,
oh, I don't have a problem with that. But because here's the thing, and this is not because I'm just some kind of great, bold, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that I don't understand school. Ethan, my brain is broken. Like, it doesn't work right. I get
sometimes that's a good thing.
It's, who knows, right? I'm not retired on a beach in Tahiti anywhere, so I don't know.
not yet.
Yeah,
Not yet.
sure. But you
You still have time.
It's not even interesting to me at this point.
Yeah.
You know why? Because a beach in Tahiti has nothing to do with my personal mission in life. Zero.
That's true.
Not one iota.
Maybe for like a week, but then.
Sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. These guys, and I don't know how they do it, like these influencers or whatever, and they sail the world and they do things, make money on Instagram or whatever. I don't know how they do it. Like, that's great for them. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with my personal mission.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. So yeah, Brian Moynihan comes, says, we need help. I can't help you.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. I can't help you.
So it sounds like you're probably advising more small companies.
Yeah. Typically, they're privately held. You can't have shareholders and expect to get anything out of what I would teach you. Uh-huh. You will hear what I teach you. You'll hear what I say. And you'll go, by golly, he's right. And then you'll look around and go, it's too late. It's too late.
So here's a question. We've been talking a lot about leaders, large corporations, small corporations, private institutions, whatever it may be. What would your advice to be to the aspiring leader? The analyst who's out there, who's kind of at the bottom of the rung, if you will, and they're trying to climb that corporate ladder, and they've got managers and senior managers and directors and everything else looking above them, and they're being told, oh, you need to pay your dues or whatever else it may be, and you might be at a bullfrog or you might not.
Doesn't matter.
But what would your advice be to that aspiring leader? What can I do, or what can that person do to set themselves apart from somebody else?
The first question is, why are you aspiring? Why are you aspiring? What are you aspiring to?
I guess
More
that's true.
money,
To be a
more influence.
If I want to
Why do
eventually
you want it?
be that director, I don't know.
Why do you want to be a director?
I don't know.
Get paid more.
Make more money. Yeah.
Money is not a mission. Money is a byproduct of a mission.
Well, the money is the means to an end. I would like to make more money so that I can provide better for my family, so that I can serve more. I can't serve my community if I'm poor myself. If I'm destitute, my influence is less. If I have,
Wait a minute, back up. You can't serve your community if you're destitute?
Well,
Don't tell that to Gandhi, baby.
in some sense, if I can't give food to the poor if I don't have food to give.
Now let me ask you this: is food to the poor your mission?
I mean, I think.
Is it a nice thing to do? Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. But is it your mission? Jared, were you put here on the planet by your creator to feed the poor?
Yeah. I think in some
and
sense.
that's the only thing. No. I'm not asking, do you feed the poor, or would you give money to a homeless guy?
Yeah.
Is the thing that bothers you more than anything else in the whole wide world the fact that there are people on the street without food? Does that drive you so insane that you can't not do something about it?
I mean, no.
It's sad, but no.
Right. And I know that's, and everyone's like, did he just say no? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You're supposed to help the poor. No. Yes. Look, I'm not going to go start a homeless shelter. Do I think homelessness is a problem? I do. Do I feel horrified and sad when I see people in a homeless situation? Absolutely. Do I give them money? All the time. Right? Do I buy them lunch? For sure. Whatever I can do. But brother, I'm not spending my whole life. That's just not the people I was born to serve.
Maybe the answer to that question, why do you aspire to do that? Because that's what we were taught.
There we go.
Because we were taught in school that you get a job and
right.
that you
and
climb
why do you
the
get
ladder
a better job?
And that
so you can go,
you get a promotion, or you go to a different job and get a better job, or
you can chase for your whole life, man.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to. I mean, it's up to you. You can do that. But I don't know anyone who and this is just my personal experience, so it's limited. As I often say, forgive me for sharing my personal stories. They're the only ones I have. Right? But I don't know anyone who I look at and go, that guy or gal is at peace. They are at real peace. They have found themselves. They are centered. They are grounded. I've never talked to anyone where I perceive that to be the case, or where I hear them say that's the case, or whether I know that's the case, where they said, oh yeah, I feel grounded by chasing. It's never happened. Not in my experience. Not in my experience.
But that's not to say that ambition is bad.
No, you should have ambition. You should have
what's the
relentless and hungry ambition. What are you ambitioning for? If it's for your personal purpose,
yeah.
If it's for your mission on the earth,
yeah,
there is no amount of ambition that will be enough. But if it's for money, forget it. You're dead already.
What if part of your ambition is that money? Like I've got 4 boys. I need a lot of money because when these kids get to be teenagers, I'm going to be eating.
You're going to need a lot of money. You're going to need a lot of money if you want to take care of all of it and be a helicopter parent and wipe their little butts for the rest of their lives.
Well, if I just want to put food on the table, I need a bit of money.
Maybe your role is to bring food to people. Then
we will.
Yeah, exactly.
4 people in particular and a wife,
exactly.
and probably yourself some too, right? No, I hear what you're saying, and I know that this is not quite clicking. Because
I'm just trying to understand exactly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But this is what we've always been taught.
Yeah.
Get good grades. Why? So you can go to good school. Why? So maybe you can go to another good school, right? You guys got MBAs, right? I know you do.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know, but yeah, so that you can get a
Why?
good job.
So you can get a good job. Why? So you can put money, or so you can put food on the table for your family. Why? Eventually you're going to run out and you're going to be like, okay, I don't know anymore. I don't know. Yeah. I don't have a good answer. So then all you are, really? I mean, did you see that movie, The Matrix?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You just plugged in,
machine,
bro.
Yeah.
They're just sucking your life and you're a battery.
There is no spoon.
What'll really bake your noodle later is, would you knock the lamp over if I hadn't said anything?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But that's the thing. I mean, that's kind of the analogy of the movie, right? Is that's our lives. We're just plugged in. We're a battery. We're providing energy for the man. And look, I'm not here selling.
So what's the alternate course here? What's the unplug us from the Matrix here?
Have purpose. Have purpose. Have understand why you are here. Did you ever see that movie Unbreakable?
With
the one with the
Wahlberg?
The one.
No, close. Bruce Willis, Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's an M. Night Shyamalan. And then
he's super strong, and Samuel Jackson is super brittle and got glass bones.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they say this in there, and I know it's been said 100 other places or whatever, but the 2 best days of your life, the day you were born, and the day you find out why. Right?
Yeah.
You've heard that.
Yeah. It's kind of like the 2 best days of a boat owner. The day he buys his boat, the day he sells his boat.
I've heard that. Not a boat owner. Right? But that's the idea, right? And I know it sounds crazy and it sounds whatever, but I'm telling you from my personal experience, from working with men and women who are experiencing this as well, particularly in my business, sure, but really a lot in F3, where I see men just, their brains become unlocked. And they recognize that there's something bigger, there's something more. They can serve something larger than themselves. And they can start to have real impact and leave that legacy.
So let's go down this road a little bit. I like where we're going. So you need to find your purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and I know that there's so many different ways, and there's books and places on people on how to find your purpose, and there's people that say, if you enjoy what you do, then you don't work a day in your life or whatever else. I mean, there's all these different types of things. But how do you find how do you find that purpose?
So first of all, your purpose and your work are not necessarily related.
Yeah.
Right? Your work is a sustaining relationship.
There's
nothing.
Maybe.
So to some degree, and I know I told you I was going to speak in hyperbole. Didn't I? I warned you. You knew it was coming. Can't get mad at me. Right? So obviously, you need to chase something sometimes, right? It's okay to get a better job. It's okay to make more money. Of course, it's okay for all those things if it's in its proper rhythm, if it's placed in its proper place with the relationships that you have in your life, right? When that becomes the most important thing, it's a problem.
Yeah.
If you recognize that is a sustaining relationship, and the only reason that it exists is to provide you the ability to have these relationships and to work within your purpose, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can have a job and go 8 to 5 and clock in, clock out. As long as you do good work, you're honest with your employer and that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's noble, right? That's virtuous. There's nothing wrong with that. But on the flip side of that, if you knew your personal purpose, then it doesn't matter where you go. You know why you're there. You would live that purpose out even at the 8 to 5. So the trick, the people say like, like you said, Ethan, right? Mm-hmm. If you find the thing you love, you won't work a day in your life.
Yeah.
You don't have to work anyway, man, right? Because you don't have to love what you're doing. You just have to love your mission. If you know your purpose and your mission, you know why you're here, the rest will follow you. I guarantee it. Hyperbole.
So, for example, if your personal mission was to say, uplift anybody and everybody you come in contact with,
okay,
then really you do that anywhere. Even if you're at your job, even if you're at the grocery store, anywhere you're at, you're doing that, and then you're fulfilling your mission through everything that you're doing. Is that
everything that you're doing? That's exactly right. So let's pretend that that's the case. Jared says, you know what? I know without any hesitation, without any equivocation, I am on this planet to interact with as many people as possible and to leave them, and to uplift them in some way, right? And let's just pretend you narrow that down even to say to compliment everyone.
Yeah.
Right? We're making stuff up, so don't get weird on me, right? I'm here to compliment everyone. And that's your mission. You know it as sure as you're sitting here that that's why you're on the earth. Then yes, you absolutely will do it everywhere you go. And here's my belief. And I've seen it play out, and so I don't think I'm wrong. And again, everyone can find an exception, right? But here's my belief. You're going to do that. You'll go to your workplace. You'll compliment everyone. You'll go to the grocery store. You'll compliment everyone. You go to the restaurant. You'll compliment everyone. Mm-hmm. My belief, and incidentally, I know that we're on the same page a little bit on this one, right? Is that there's a higher power.
Yep.
Right? And we believe in that, and we trust in that. And if we're living the way that we're supposed to in our purpose, then God will put us 100%. He will put us where we're supposed to be. You'll compliment the right person, and I promise that guy or gal will be like, you know what? What do you do for a living? And you'll tell them. And be like, you know what? I need one of those. And then your better job comes and your better opportunity comes. But it's not because you're a great complimenter. It's because you're living in your purpose. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I mean, really what you're talking about, that's really what this whole podcast is about. It's about building your personal creed, your personal, we are a brother's creed. We consider the folks that follow us and listen to us a brotherhood, also a womanhood, I guess you could say. But lots of people, a personhood, yeah. But really, unless you have that personal creed, like you're kind of just a ship without a rudder.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of our mission. Ethan and I's mission with this whole thing is that really this is an opportunity for us to share these kind of things with other folks and help uplift them in their own lives. And we hope that people listening to our podcast feel uplifted and feel like, hey, that was a great episode. I'm going to try to be this more humble or more self-aware or more other things.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of how it started out. I mean, you and I were just, we got together, we went out to dinner or something like that. And we're like, just talking about life and where we are and where we've been and where we're going. And we're just like, talking about maybe some of our personal beliefs or how we think it's important to live. And then we're like, well, let's dive into that. Let's find maybe our purpose together. What is our specific or creed, right? What is that drives us and that makes us who we are and maybe could potentially provide opportunity for us in the future, like we said. And then it kind of developed into, well, I want to hear from other people's creeds as well. Maybe if we all kind of get together and I think other people's opinions and talking and moving forward together helps us all get stronger. And that's kind of where it came from. So I think that's...
No, I love that.
So how does this relate to, we were talking about the corporate atmosphere.
Sure.
How does this relate to the home? And the answer might be exactly the same.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't relate at all to the home. None of this applies.
I would say at the home, if you're not right, like that first G, if you're not right,
bro,
your kids are going to see it first off.
I was just going to say, like, you can hide that crap at work.
Yep.
Yeah. You can't hide that at home. You cannot hide that at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all. So you're exactly right. Yeah.
Your wife will see it. My wife would see it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's up? What's up? And then
Yeah.
you can't.
Your
just,
wife especially. Like,
Yeah,
you can't just say
you got no latitude.
She's very intuitive. Yeah, she's
you
just
can't,
like,
you can't just say, "Oh, nothing," because
Right.
at work you could be like, "Oh, I just got a lot to do. I'm fine."
Yeah.
But and that's
Well,
it.
they don't.
You know, people don't care.
They don't really care.
But
Yeah.
at home, you have people that,
She's like, hey, if you're
care.
jacked up, buddy, this affects me.
100%.
So let's figure this out.
yeah.
Yeah, on this earth and in the next.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's so important. So what would you say to getting those principles, getting right in the home?
Yeah, they don't largely change. So when we talk to folks, getting right consists of three major aspects of your life, right? Your personal, so you got to get right with yourself, you got to get right with other people, and you got to get right with whatever it is that you believe is bigger than you, whatever that is. In our estimation, right? And we are all happen to be of the same faith, so we believe that there's a God, and so we need to get right with God, right? Yeah. So whether you believe that that's, Buddha, or whether you believe that that's nature, or I don't know, whatever the thing is, it's not really interesting to me to any great degree, but you have to get right with all of those areas in your life. And the same is true whether it's in the corporate environment, whether it's home, because you're still you. It doesn't change. It doesn't you can't magically just be like, oh, I put my briefcase down and now nothing applies.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and one thing too is, I asked that question earlier about how, what would your advice to be to the low-level analyst that's not in
we
leadership,
never answered that, did we?
In a leadership position. But I think it goes to the same point that, maybe they're not in a leadership position at work, but then they come home and you are the leader, or you are one of the leaders.
I don't care if you live by yourself and you're the only guy there. You got to lead yourself, bro.
You lead your own life. And so I think any aspects of this is how I want to lead, or this is how it should be done, it'll mold over into what you're doing.
No, you're absolutely right. The old, and again, some people would say it's a hackneyed phrase, but I think it still applies. The old, how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
You practice you play like you practice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, yeah, to your point, if this is how you are at home, then this is how you're going to be at work. If this is how you're at work, eventually it's going to make its way home. You can't keep these things separate for long. You'll explode. Oh, do we ever see that? You ever seen an example of that? Right.
Yeah.
You pick, turn on the news any given day, and that's how it is. And that's the big problem that I have. In fact, one of the things that you mentioned reading my LinkedIn, and I haven't really done a ton with it yet, but I'm working on it.
He was joking. I didn't actually read it.
I did.
You did?
No, I did. Yeah, for sure I did. You got to do your research when you're talking to
people.
people.
Yeah, especially important people. Right? But, I talk a lot about this virtuous leadership movement, and this idea that we all need to buy in. Because, look, when you look around, every time you turn on the TV, who's next? Who's next? You pick. It doesn't matter. Even Dave Ramsey. Did you see this?
No, I didn't see this.
I thought Dave Ramsey was the guy. He's the best guy. The financial guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who that is?
Yeah.
And it turns out he is horrible to people. His people who work for him hate him.
Really?
He's a total jackwagon, apparently.
It's like Ellen DeGeneres, right?
Right? You hear these things and you're like,
that's like when I heard Bill Cosby was doing all this stuff. I was
Yes,
like, what? I thought he was hilarious. Yeah.
Dr. Huxtable. Yeah. But that's the problem is you get in the situation, and those people are people who have been given great responsibility and great opportunity, and they ran up that mountain real fast with no guardrails. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you get going too fast, the vehicle's only designed to go so fast under certain conditions. With no guardrails, you're going to go off the edge. Period. Yeah. End of story. There is no exception. You're not special. That's the other thing I tell people they don't like to hear. You're not special. Right? Everything that you're experiencing right now has been experienced by somebody else before 1 million times over. You're not special. Yeah. This isn't new. I'm not telling you this, and it's well, that won't apply to me. I used to think that. I really thought, yeah. But do you know who I am? Right. I'm super talented. Yeah. I'm a really nice guy. Come on, it's going to be fine. It's not fine. Yeah. If you do the thing, if you live without guardrails, you will go over the edge. End of story. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, well, you had your own cautionary tale. That you said your own company. You almost you couldn't One thing I liked hearing once, we actually did an episode about self-awareness that we're going to release in the next few weeks here, but one thing I like that the guy says that if you don't brush your nose is right above your mouth. He said if you don't brush your teeth for 3 days, you might not be able to smell your bad breath, but if you're in a room talking to somebody, they'll be able to smell it. So sometimes we're just not aware of our own selves.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I think leadership principles like this and like constantly reminding ourselves. That's why we do the podcast. Reminding yourselves constantly of those principles that we need to remember, which are those guardrails. That unless you're constantly repairing those guardrails, you're going to be sunk because they're going to rot away.
Yeah. And you're going to run into them, and you're going to dent them, and you're going to chip them, and you're going to, break through a little bit here, whatever. And if you never do anything about it, you're right. And the way that we like to think of it is I kind of call it the 3 little pig principle, right? So if I built guardrails out of straw, useless, right? Sticks, a little better, but you really want to build them out of bricks, right?
How does one do that?
Conceptually, right?
Yeah.
Don't get all steel on me, right? Let's say this is pre-industrial age. I don't know, right? But you build them out of bricks, and the idea there is that each brick is a positive habit. And right now, let's say that you want to develop a habit of getting up early. Well, what does everyone do? They go, oh, I think I want to get up early. So tomorrow I'm going to set my alarm for 4:30 and I'm going to get up early. And they're probably fine that day.
Yeah.
Because they grit their teeth and they can, will themselves out of bed for a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow it's like, all right, that was painful. One snooze.
Yeah.
By the end of the week, they're back to whatever time. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's stupid. Doesn't even make sense because we try to do too much at once. So instead of saying, and this is true of leadership, when you're trying to make changes in companies, when you're trying to make changes in your personal habits, when you're trying to make changes anywhere in life, period, end of story, you have to start small. You can only start with one brick. If I load you up, you're like, I'm going to build a guardrail. You're like, okay, great. Here's 500 bricks. You're dead. It'll just crush you.
Yeah.
But if you take one brick or half a brick, or whatever, at a time until you get strong enough that you can carry more and carry more and carry more, then that's how you build it, right?
Yeah.
That's how you build it. So you find these positive habits. So if you want to get up at 4:30 in the morning, what time do you get up now? 8. Okay. Why don't we try 7:50?
Yeah.
Why don't we just do that for 2 weeks? And the problem is nobody's patient. Nobody wants to exert the discipline. Nobody wants to farm. They all want to hunt.
They want to, yeah.
The law of the harvest, you got to sow first before you can reap.
Or they want to reap somebody else's harvest.
Well, that's what a bullfrog does, right?
Yes.
They compete for flies.
Yeah.
That are going to fly by. Lizard goes and finds food, bro. Right?
Yeah.
Lizard crawls around. It's fast. It moves. Lean. Right? It's cagey.
Mm-hmm.
In and out of rocks. Yeah.
That's what you got to be. This is great. I think you share so much good information with this one. Like, I think that one thing we always ask our guests at the end of the episode is to share their personal creed with us, and maybe in this scenario, I don't know if you've prepared anything for that, but we've talked about your purpose in life. I'm wondering if you might share that with us. If you're comfortable sharing that.
I might. Is this your indication that we're done?
Well, yeah, nearing the end here. So
I know. I just don't. You're fine.
If you want to be, I mean, we could do a Joe Rogan where it goes like 3 hours, right? But I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
People might not listen for
they're
3
not
hours.
listen to me anyway. But no. So and I did see. You prepped me pretty well. I was telling you that before we started. I was like, hey, you guys, prepped me pretty well for this, and we didn't stick to the questions as closely as I thought we might, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So I thought about that, and I was like, what is my personal creed? Like, if I had to sum it up in this kind of succinct way, right?
Sounds like you've already been thinking about that quite a bit with your personal mission statement.
I think so, right? So and I'll give you an F3 example, right? So in F3, our credo or creed that we use is, we leave no man behind, but we leave no man where we found him, right? And I don't want to say that mine is exactly that. But even before I was a member of F3, and certainly long before I was president of F3, I've always had a big poster that hangs on the wall of my office that says, leave everything better than you found it. But that's Boy Scouts, right? And that's where I learned that, and you guys are both Scouters, and so you know. But I remember that was just one of those things that, man, it just lodged in my brain. I don't remember how to tie a double half hitch or whatever, a sheep shank. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
2 half hitches is not too hard, but I don't remember how to tie a sheep shank, right?
Yeah.
But I do remember leave everything better than you found it, because we
Yep.
would go to the campsite and that leave no trace idea,
Yep.
whatever, right? So and so I think that's always kind of been in my heart and in my mind of leaving everything better than I found it. But I would say that my personal mission, if I had to kind of really sum it up, would be to teach principles of virtuous leadership in order to unlock leaders' minds. That's what I'm here to do. I want to teach you the things that you need to do to get right, to live right, so that you have the proper relationships and the proper rhythm to your relationships. And that's everything from your wife and your kids to the people you work with to, all those things, right? And putting work in its proper place as well. And by the way, it's last. Work is always last. That's when we really get backwards in our world, I think. But so it's applying those principles of preparedness, of leadership to say, get yourself right, put those proper relationships, in their right rhythm, and get right with your God, whatever that is, whoever that is, this thing that's bigger than you. If you can do those things, I just know, because I've lived it and I watch it happen every single day in the lives of thousands upon thousands of men. They start to get themselves right, their brains unlock, and then everything in their life, everything good that they've ever done in their whole lives becomes enhanced because their brains are unlocked, because they recognize that the stories that they've been told their whole lives, get good grades so you can get a job, so you can blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
and eventually you run out because you got nowhere to go. Men and women finding personal mission, personal purpose, understanding why they are on the planet. That's what I'm here to do without any hesitation. I mean, I know it as sure as I'm sitting here. I'm to find leaders and to help them find their personal mission, their personal purpose, to make everyone around them better. Everyone. And my personal, like when you start thinking about like F3 or things like that, I am not going to rest until those principles, and I always joke with the guys, that I'm leading in the organization, right, is until that F3 logo is in the halls of Congress and every boardroom in America, I'm not done. I'm not done.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I believe.
That's great. I kind of like what you said, that it starts there, and then kind of it's almost like I want to say a virus, but it's something that's contagious, right? There's
It's a good virus.
Yeah, there's a trickle down effect, right?
It's a positive contagion.
Yeah, you find these men or these people that are leaders, and you help develop them, and then you educate them to the point of where then they have this mindset of, maybe it's a professor at a university, and then he's teaching, or they're teaching the people and the kids in their class, and they're not just saying this, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you get to 100, then hooray on you. It's like it's so much more, and I think it's that trickle down effect that really, I really like what you said.
People need to come alive, and I believe that comes from alignment. Alive comes through alignment. And when I say alignment, again, we're, part of that comes with our faith, right? Aligning our will, subserviating our will, submitting ourselves to the greater good, right? That's how it happens. That's how it happens. If you can't do that, as far as I'm concerned, you're not a leader. You're not. You might hold a leadership position. You might have governance over another human, but you are not a leader. You're not. At best, you might be a manager.
Assistant to the manager.
That's right.
Not the assistant manager.
In fact, I haven't launched it yet, but I bought the URL, and I'm building a site around it called nomoremanagers.com.
Oh, yeah?
And can you believe that was available? I mean, come on. It's too good, right?
Yeah, but it's outside of the norm, and nobody's going to be like, no more managers. Well, we need managers.
We need lots of managers. No more managers, only leaders, right? But again, I watch it happen all the time now, and it's remarkable. That is what I'm here to do. And so no matter where I go, Jared, it doesn't matter. I don't need a job, or I can have a job, or I can have 10 jobs, or I can have whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm just here to unlock people, man. I'm here for you to understand that you can live your best. Because you know what? I'm not that smart. And I'm certainly not that visionary. I'm not.
Sounds like you are. You want to make every single man in the country at F3. That seems like a big vision.
But you know what? It's only so that they can be their best selves.
Well, that's still.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
Great vision, I think.
Fair, but it wasn't mine. I just discovered it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't come up with this vision. Dave Redding came up with this vision.
Yeah.
I just discovered it along the way and made it my own because I believe those things. Now, I probably have a little bit different way of doing it and that sort of thing, but you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But you can either, and I was watching this just today, and I know I'm rambling on, so just
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Go ahead and edit this. Just cut it here. Thanks, and have a nice night. Right? but you know, like that's the whole idea, right? Is that I can't stop talking about it because I can't help myself.
Yeah.
Because this is what I'm here to do. This is why I exist. You know, and my personal belief is that if a person can find that, can figure that out, and if I can help them do that, fantastic. I mean, that's what we spend a lot of time doing with people, you know, in my personal coaching and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is coming up with that and then figuring out how do we apply that across all the different aspects of your life and particularly in your work. But if that's what happens, can you imagine that? I mean, I'm being really serious. Can you imagine that? Every person waking up knowing why they're here. And if they know why they're here and it really is their purpose, unfortunately, like in Unbreakable, no one's purpose really is to be evil. That's it's not an option, right? It's a cartoon, or not a cartoon, but it's a comic book,
movie,
right? Yeah, it's a movie. But if everyone has a purpose and it all is designed for the greater good, I mean, how can we lose? You know, how can we lose?
One thing that I have noticed in you, and not just tonight, but in our other interactions and stuff like that, is just your enthusiasm towards things. And I don't think it's just. I think some of it's just your personality.
Sure,
but I think a lot of it too is, you know, being on that path towards defining what your purpose is. And once you find something that's like, oh man, that makes sense. Like that just clicks. It, you know, like you said, my mind feels unlocked. Then it's like that enthusiasm is like so much more than sitting in a boardroom and talking about, oh, sales for this month are up 25% or whatever else. I mean, it's just like the enthusiasm for it. And I see it at work, you know, every single day when you get people. There are some people that are really enthusiastic and they you can tell they love what they do. And there's other people that are potentially there just to be there. Just collect a paycheck, which is fine. Maybe their purpose is somewhere else.
Maybe,
but that's just something that I've noticed.
But if they were living their purpose, wouldn't they be
more enthusiastic? In general,
they'd be that way at work too.
100%.
How you are is how you are.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think that to me is kind of like a I don't know, one of those key indicators in saying, oh, maybe that person is someone to talk with or associate with or get to know a little bit more, because that enthusiasm drives potentially that purpose.
For sure.
The purpose drives enthusiasm.
I mean, look, you know, and then get out of the way, you know.
You mentioned that you did personal coaching. Is that something else that you do? Or is that just like kind of F3 generally?
Well, sure. I mean, you know, I'm always helping guys and mentoring and whatever. But no, personal coaching is a big part of the leadership development business for sure. Because, again, effective organizations begin with effective people. Yeah. And if we're going to get you to be an effective person, you're going to need some help probably.
Yeah.
You know.
So do you do more of that more so than corporate coaching? Like corporate, like you go like you're talking on the stage in front of a bunch of people, or do you more leaders say, hey, like I want you to come help me be a better leader. Can you coach me?
Yeah, for sure. And here's why. And in fact, if you called me, it's another one of those things. Brian Moynihan calls, right? Yeah. He says, we need help. I can't help you, right? So.
But if he says, I need help.
Well, say this is why Frank's an idiot, right? Actually, if Brian Moynihan says, I need help, I probably can't help him either, because I don't know what, you know, that's pretty high level, because he doesn't want that kind of help that I, you know, right? He's already a pretty effective guy, I think. But if someone called and said, hey, will you come speak at our thing, right? Sure. I mean, I'm happy to do that, and I'll take your money. I'll always take your money, right? But that's not really the program.
Yeah.
The program is, let us come in for a couple of days, show you what this is all about, and then let me show you how, over the next 12 months, working with you individually, we're going to unlock you people. Because here's the thing. I can stand up in front of you. Number one, remember we said early on, right? 2-day seminar, 2 weeks of improvement, right? You can't go to enough 2-day seminars to get you through. It just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to do some work, right? So without the ongoing reinforcement, there's no point. It's Twinkie leadership, like it tastes fantastic, but it has no real, there's no value to it, long term, because it might get you through the day, or the next few hours or whatever, but you're going to crash. That's just the way it works, right? So this is real honest to goodness, meat and potatoes, kind of stuff. And it's long-term and it's sustainable. This is all about farming. This is all about hard work. There's nothing here that is a quick fix. There's nothing I can teach you that will fix it tomorrow. There's no trick or tip or anything like that is going to magically transform you in any way. It's just not one bit. Can't help you. If that's what you're looking for, there's plenty of guys out there that are more than willing to sell it to you. And it may work. I don't know. My experience is the opposite. Yeah. So so that's all I can speak from. But
the power of habit. That's the key.
People write the books, man.
That was our first episode.
Is that right?
The power of habit. The habit.
The habits.
Yeah. Habits.
Yeah. That's it, man.
How you talked about that, like incremental
you have enough
changes,
positive
and
habits. You build some good guardrails, and you can accelerate as fast as you'd like.
Yeah,
and you'll be safe.
Excellent.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, for all the listeners out there that want to know more information, where can they find you?
Sure. Oh, yeah. So you can email me at frank@g3l.com. You can go to g3l.com and learn some stuff. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, I'm on, you name it, right? Mm-hmm. And if you want to learn more about F3, you can go to f3nation.com. And there's plenty of information out there, and you can actually contact me through that website as well. So that's kind of the way.
Sweet.
My phone number. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna
hey, if you want,
social security number,
right? Share with us your socials, and we'll put those in the show notes.
Oh, perfect. No, happy to do that. So I have a couple of Ugandan princes that wrote me recently looking for that, so we'll direct them to the show notes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you can follow us on Instagram as well at a.brothers.creed. Also follow our YouTube channel, subscribe, like, leave comments. We always love hearing from everybody out there and moving forward. So.
Awesome.
Let's build that creed together.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks.